everyone, my name is Millie and welcome to The Performing Arts in Me. In today's video I'm going to be sharing some tips about what kind of things you might want to wear for drama school auditions or for similar types of auditions. If you don't know me already, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Millie and I'm currently studying at London Studio Centre. I'm training on their theatre dance degree programme and I'm on the musical theatre pathway. I'm currently in second year now. Before I started at London Studio Centre, I did a foundation year at Bird College, so I did 2 years worth of drama school auditions. In today's video I'm going to be talking about what I wore for my drama school auditions. This is talking about what I wore for the second lot of auditions I did. So whilst I was at Bird College auditioning for what ended up being my year at London Studio Centre. So this was my auditions for entry in September 2022. That's the audition clothes that I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So I would like to preface this video by saying that these tips that I'm giving are just my opinion and it's just based on what I wore for my auditions, and I'm definitely not saying you have to wear this for your auditions. Everyone's different and so obviously everyone's going to wear different clothes, but even if you personally would never want to wear what I wore for my auditions, which is absolutely fine, I'm also going to explain why I chose what I chose, and hopefully some of those whys will give you some ideas of what you would like to think about when you're choosing your audition clothes. So firstly I'm going to outline my 3 main principles for choosing audition outfits, and then I'll explain and show you some of what I wore and why. I don't have everything that I wore with me, but I'll show you some of what I wore and I'll describe the rest and then explain why. Okay, so my first main principle is to check what the school has asked you to wear. So for a dance round, for example, it might say something like please wear tight-fitting clothing, or it might just say like wear whatever you feel comfortable in, or I don't know. Anyway, I would suggest checking what they say, and if you're unsure in any way about what to wear or you'd like to ask something, then I'd suggest just getting in touch with the school and asking them. My second main principle is to wear something that you feel comfortable in. So something that is going to help you feel your best, something that you feel your best in, and something that you know that you've worn to either a similar class or you've worn to a different audition before and has worked for you. So you're not going to be distracted by like a sleeve that's really itchy or something like that. I don't know. Just something you know is going to work for you. And then my final main principle is to wear something that is practical. So for example, something that's safe to dance in for a dance round. And it might be something, for example, that you can easily change into or out of quickly if you're going to want to change between the different sections, or something that you can easily adapt for the different sections of the audition. I'm going to talk more about this later because that's something that I really had in mind when I was picking my outfits, so I'll discuss that when I talk about what I wore. I'm now going to start talking about what I chose to wear for my auditions. Like I said, this was for the second time that I was auditioning, so for entry in September 2022. Most of my auditions were face-to-face, but a few were still self-tapes or like had a self-tape element to the first round, for example. But anyway, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what I wore, and I'm going to start with dance. So generally speaking for dance, there was a jazz audition, and then some schools also had a ballet audition, and London Studio Centre, which is where I am now, also had a contemporary dance audition. I can't actually really remember what I wore for my contemporary dance audition. It might have been black leotard and black tights, but I'm not entirely sure. However, I can remember what I wore for my jazz auditions, because I tended to wear the same audition outfit for every audition. So for jazz I wore a coloured leotard and black footless tights. This is the coloured leotard I wore. It is now not necessarily quite the same colour that it was when I wore it. It has lost a bit of colour. This was like nearly 2 years ago now. But this was the leotard I wore. As you can see, it's green. It's a Morella leotard, so I think that's like a sub-branch or like a category of block leotards. I chose it because I loved the colour. I already had it as one of my leotards, I think, that I was wearing anyway, but I chose it to be my audition leotard because I love the colour and I felt like it was quite an unusual colour, so it would stand out a bit more in an audition. Like I said, it has discoloured a little since then because it's such an unusual colour. Washing it with other coloured items means it has changed colour slightly. But yeah, this was the leotard I wore. I felt quite secure in it. It was very comfortable for me. I'd done class in it. It has like a shelf bra lining inside, you can see. Yeah, so it's got a shelf bra lining. And I also find the straps really comfortable on this leotard. I had some other leotards at the times which were like cap sleeve or like short sleeve leotards, and personally I found with like cap sleeve leotards I'd constantly be having to like readjust the sleeves, which was like distracting for me. And short sleeve leotards, for example, I found tended to rub like my armpits, so this one was much more comfortable for me with like these more tank style sleeves. I also like the lace, like I found it really pretty as a leotard. This is the back. And the neckline as well, so I don't know if you can see, it kind of comes to about here on me. And this meant that I could put it under my singing and acting round clothes. So if I didn't have time to go and change, the leotard could be underneath it without being like massively visible. Sometimes this top bit would like poke out a little bit, but if I just like tucked it down or adjusted the top that I was wearing, then generally it'd be fine. So yeah, this was my jazz round leotard, and then over the top of it I'd wear black footless tights, which I normally got from Move Dancewear, and then split sole black jazz shoes. Okay, so with the ballet round of the audition, I would generally wear a black leotard and convertible ballet tights, which is like ballet tights where the foot can come out the bottom, so they can be like footless tights or they can be like over the foot. I think I can remember which leotard I wore, and I don't think I have it with me, but it was very similar to this one, so I'm going to show you this one instead. The one that I wore was just like a plain black cotton leotard. It had these types of straps, which is why I'm showing you this one, and I think it had a slightly higher neckline. This one's a little bit lower on the neckline, and it had a ruched front as well, so it was quite a classical leotard, I'd say. Assuming it's the one that I think it was, I think I'd worn it or a very similar leotard for the RAD exam I did my intermediate ballet exam, and I wore this leotard, so if that gives you any idea as a reference point. So yeah, I generally wear that and the convertible ballet tights, and then I think I wore just canvas split sole ballet shoes with that. For my bird audition though, between the ballet and the jazz round, we didn't change leotards, so I just wore my colour leotard and black tights and then ballet shoes. But I was quite used to doing that because that was what we wore on our foundation course for ballet anyway. Okay, so when it came to my singing and acting round, I also tended to wear the same clothes, which I have here. So I wore a red top, which is this, and I wore a grey skirt, which is this. So I chose to wear these for several reasons. It's actually quite hard to remember all of the reasons now. When I was like planning out this video, I just kept thinking of more things, and I was like, was I really thinking that? So yeah, it's quite hard to remember all of these reasons now, but I think this was my logic for choosing these. And I think now that I would maybe be less strict with some of these rules or guidelines that I set for myself when it came to choosing audition outfits. Although saying that, I'm happy with what I wore and I think it worked for me, so maybe I wouldn't, I don't know. Firstly, for me, practicality is really key. I didn't want to be worrying about not having time to change, so I wanted something that I could layer over my leotard and tights rather than having to go to a changing room or a toilet and change. So I didn't want something with a low neckline because my leotard neckline was here and I wanted something that could cover it. Obviously I could have chosen a leotard with a lower neckline, but anyway, I can't remember which way round I chose my outfits, or maybe I chose it with a bit of both, I don't know. And I also remember not wanting a turtleneck for some reason. I think maybe I'd heard from somewhere that it made it seem like you were trying to cover up too much, or they wanted to be able to see your throat when you were singing or something like that, I don't know. But I remember not wanting to wear a turtleneck for some reason. So I wanted something that could cover my leotard, and I don't think that I was able to find a dress that could do that. Or at least if I was looking online, then I wasn't sure whether it would cover it, and I think I had this already. In terms of the skirt choice, so I didn't want to wear trousers. So at the time I didn't really wear trousers apart from jeans and leggings and like shorts and stuff. I didn't have really any formal trousers at the time, and I didn't think I'd feel comfortable in the types of trousers that I saw other people wearing, and I also felt like a skirt or a dress would be more formal. So yeah, I wanted to wear a skirt or a dress. Couldn't find a dress with the neckline issue, so I got a skirt. And I think the reason that I have darker colours is so that I could wear my jazz tights underneath it, because obviously they're black, so I could wear those underneath it if I wanted to, or I could wear like flesh coloured tights or whatever if I wanted to, I guess. But I think I generally just wore my black jazz tights underneath. It might also have been because I think I was struggling to find a flared skirt. I personally didn't want to wear a tight skirt. I wanted something that was more like a flared, like A-line type shape, and I was struggling to find any type of that. So not flared, would you call it flared? I don't know. I'm not a fashion person, so all of these description terms could be completely wrong. But anyway, so I would think I was struggling to find a skirt like that, and so when I found this one, like, it didn't really matter what the colour was, I was happy with it. So that was the skirt. And then in terms of the top on top, I think I wanted something bright on top, so again I could stand out. And I do like wearing red as a colour anyway. I was also doing self-tape submissions, as I mentioned, for a couple of the auditions, and I didn't want something that was too patterned because I thought it might be distracting for a self-tape, and I also didn't want it to be too pale because I didn't want to like blend into the background if I was standing against a white wall. So I think that was kind of my logic with this outfit. In terms of shoes, I tended to wear my heels with it, just like character heels, although I think at least once I just went with my trainers, which were chunky, like mainly black trainers. I think that was for an acting workshop that I had as part of one of the auditions, but I tended to wear my heels. I might have worn the trainers for more than one of them actually, but in general I wore my heels. Just a couple of quick reflections on the clothes. So I did sometimes have time to go and change between the rounds, but I don't know that I always did, or at least it might have been a bit of a rush to change, particularly because my surname's double, so that's quite early up in the register if you're doing it in register order. So yeah, it might have been a bit of a rush to change between singing and dance, and having something that I could layer also meant that I could come wearing everything, and it didn't matter what I was doing first. I could either just take off my outer layers and then I'd be wearing my jazz stuff underneath, or just stay as I was ready to sing and act, unless I had a ballet audition, in which case I would have to decide whether to come in ballet stuff or jazz stuff first underneath my acting singing costume. Another thing was having one outfit choice which worked for all my auditions that I did was helpful, because it meant that if I got a recall, I already knew what I had worn for the previous round because it would be the same thing, so I could wear the same thing for the recall, and then hopefully that might help them to have remembered me from my first round audition. Thinking back now, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I think I might have been a bit restrictive in what I set out for myself in terms of like boundaries in what I wanted to wear, and I might have been a bit like prescriptive, and so it was quite hard for me to find clothes to wear potentially. But actually I'm pretty happy with what I wore and it worked for me, so maybe I would stick with those guidelines if I was doing it again now. I don't know. But you absolutely don't have to follow all of what I've said in this video. Like, for example, lots of people didn't layer their singing and acting clothes over the leotards, so feel free to like take or leave as much of this as you want, like it's up to you. I was going to talk about hair and makeup in this video as well, but I actually think I'm going to leave that for another video because this one's looking pretty long already. So the final thing that I want to say is, at the end of the day, this is just my opinion and what I wore. Please check with the school, and also remember that, well, at least I think that they should be basing any opinions they might have off of what you're doing in the audition, like the work that you produce, your dance, your singing, your acting. And so in my opinion, the most important thing is that you wear something that allows you to do your best work. So for me, that was something that was simple, easy to change between. For you, that might be something completely different. So I would say to just check the school's guidelines and have a think about what you might want to wear, and contact them if you have any questions. Okay, I hope that this has been helpful, and if it has, please do give this video a like to let me know. I'd also really appreciate you subscribing if you haven't already, because I would really love to get to 150 subscribers. You can also share this video with a friend if you've got a friend that's auditioning and you think that this might be helpful for them. And if you have any tips yourself for things to wear for auditions or anything like that, then please do leave them in the comments, because that might be helpful for someone else. And yeah, I think that is everything. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. Bye!